Hello and welcome to another Hagall tutorial. This is Tracy, and in this video I'll walk you through how to set up a Hagall server on Microsoft Azure. If you don't already have an Azure account, please pause this video and create one now at portal.azure.com. You can start a free trial and everything will be free for the first month, after which some services will continue to be free for 11 more months, but others won't be. From my rough estimates, it will cost somewhere between 3 and 8 USD per month to run Hagall, depending on your virtual machine settings, which we'll go into later. Anyway, after you've created your Azure account, navigate to the portal home. Click on Virtual Machines and create a new Azure VM. Here you can create a new resource group and give it a name. Since I already have one named Hagall, I'll just use that. Then name your VM. Before selecting a region, you can look at this cool map of current Hagall servers at dashboard.posemesh.org. It's not super necessary to pick a sparsely populated region, but it does help the Posemesh if Hagall servers are spread out across the world as much as possible. Australia looks pretty empty compared to Europe and US, so I'll go for that. Make sure your image is an Ubuntu server. The default option should do. And for the size, you'll want to click See All Sizes. I haven't had great experiences with the B1LS, it often gets sluggish or freezes altogether, so I recommend the B1S. Assuming you don't already have another VM running on your account, the B1S should be free for 12 months, so let's select that one. The default SSH key settings here look good, so we'll move on to the inbound port rules. Make sure to select both HTTP and HTTPS since Hagall will need both of these to be open. Click Next to go to the disk settings. Here a weird thing happens. You may see a disk size drop-down, and if you do, then choose the free account eligible option. If you don't see that setting with a free option, I think Azure will charge you an extra $4 to $5 a month for disk storage. Unfortunately, I've yet to definitively figure out why the option appears sometimes and not others. In any case, for the disk type, standard SSD will suffice. In the Networking tab, just verify that all 3 inbound ports show up here. Now we can review and create the VM. If everything looks fine, go ahead and click Create. It'll prompt you to generate a new key pair. Download your private key and don't lose it. Once it's downloaded, you can return to creating the VM. This will take a few minutes, so I'll fast forward through this part. After the deployment is complete, click Go to Resource. Now let's copy the public IP address of the VM and set up the domain. If you have your own domain already, feel free to use that and just create an A record in your DNS settings for a subdomain that points to the public IP address you just copied. But if you don't already have your own domain, you can get a free one from duckdns.org. There are a few different sign-in options. I'll use Google for this. Create a new domain, paste the IP address here, and click Update IP. Now let's go back to the Azure VM and click on the Connect settings. Open Terminal if you're on a Mac, or WSL on Windows, and use the chmod 400 command to set the correct permissions for the private key you downloaded. If you prefer command line on Windows, you won't have the chmod command, but you can Google Windows chmod 400 to find instructions on how to do the equivalent. Now you can SSH into your VM using your private key and the public IP address. Once you're connected, the first thing to do is to update the package lists on your VM. All of these commands will be in the YouTube description below, so you can just copy and paste them. After the updates are complete, install Docker. Now install docker-compose. Next, let's add azureuser to the Docker group so we can run Docker commands without using sudo. Note that after these permissions are changed, We have to log out and then log back in again for them to take effect. Type exit to log out, and then reconnect with the same SSH command as before. Before we do anything else, let's verify that Docker and docker-compose are both installed. Both look good, so next we'll copy this curl command to download the Hagall docker-compose file. Again, it'll be in the description below for you to copy. Quick check with ls to make sure it's there, and then we can use the nano command to edit the file. First, let's copy the domain or subdomain we created before. Now in the docker-compose file, scroll down and replace the example URL with your domain for virtual host, let's encrypt host, and Hagall public endpoint. Be sure to keep the HTTPS prefix on this last one. You should also remember to add your Ethereum wallet address to Hagall wallet ADDR. Once you're done editing the file, press Ctrl-O to write out, meaning to save it, then Enter, and finally Ctrl-X to exit. Now run the command docker-compose up-d. Assuming you did everything correctly, you should be all set now. To verify, we can check the logs. We'll do this with the command docker logs -f to follow it live, Hagall. Normally, the first couple of attempts to register Hagall to HDS will fail, and you'll see error messages about it, but give it a minute or so and then you should see Hagall is successfully registered to HDS and 0x smoke messages, which are the health checks. And if you refresh the PostMesh map, you should already be able to see your new server. Congratulations! Your Hagall server is officially up and running. If something went wrong, please join us on Discord and we'll try to help you out in the Hagall chat channel. There will be a link to Discord in the description. Even if nothing went wrong, please join our Alki community anyway. We would love to have you. And that wraps up this tutorial. Thank you so much for participating in the PostMesh.